Hi, this is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi. We're looking at the Atari 50, the anniversary collection. I got a review copy of this, but that does not affect how I talk about these games. But thanks to Atari for that. So we are looking here. Hi, this is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi. We're looking at Atari 50, the anniversary collection. Full disclosure, I received a review copy of this. So what we have here, this is interesting. I've played a lot of these compilations before. In fact, my first Atari console was an Atari 2600. And yet what we have right here is a combination of, this could be used in universities, but I mean, it's also fun to play through. It's like an interactive timeline that has pictures in games, or you can just jump right to the games if you want to with the game library. I'm playing the version on Steam, in case you're wondering. But yeah, let's get going here. So we got these different options of the timeline by default: arcade origins, birth of the consoles, highs and lows, dawn of PCs, 1990s and beyond. And so you have a collection of Atari first-party titles or mostly first-party titles, I assume, on different options. So if we go straight to the game library, most people want to check out the games, and you have a combination of, you can sort by platform if you push Y. Recently played, year, platform, right? So you can do 2600 Lynx, Atari 800, Jaguar is the most recent one, and even more recent, we're talking about like in the 90s, late 90s, was kind of the last big attempt at Atari at having a console that wasn't kind of like a standalone thing with the games included that you plug into the HDMI port of the TV. So, I mean, we have a lot of titles here. Not only that, but a lot of these old Atari titles back in the day, and I'll demo some of these, have like 30 variations of the games within it. So this is not just like 5 titles or something that they're charging, $39.99 for US dollars, right? You have a lot of games here as we're kind of going through. And if we go back, I think the way that it's meant to be done is not the game library, but you go through you can't have your meat if you don't eat your vegetables, as the old song goes. And you can look through these different sections here. Like highs and lows is a good example. Mid 80s, the beginning ones about the arcade games. There isn't really too much to play here, but you can see a picture. Oh, we can zoom in. You can zoom in. You can zoom out. Really high definition photography here. Talks about Atari at the crossroads. There's videos, some of which are new. Demons to Diamonds was a VCS exclusive Atari video computer system. You can look at the advertisements. I think those are always interesting because I really like this artwork. Look at this here for Math Grand Prix. It shows an exciting kid. There were paintings done as the artwork, because if you had the game graphics, I think people would have, I do like the Atari 2600 aesthetic, but let's face it, it's not the most appealing thing for mom or dad to pick up the box and buy it for the kids, right? Sword Quest, if it's something you can play, it says you can do it with the Y button. Demons Diamonds, just because it's in an ad doesn't mean you can play it. The official Atari handshake, that could probably get you in trouble in some places. It looks like you're doing a deal of some sort. Look at all these controllers. And if we pull up a video, some of these are vintage. This is talking about you can move it like a VCR or a streaming video.
The 5200 was a tragedy. The 5200
So you're talking about the 5200.
A good idea gone horribly wrong.
So we're pausing right here, and we can skip forward if we want. You have Howard Scott Warshaw. I've met him in person. He designed E.T., among other stuff for Atari. Really cool. I mean, so with Atari, it's an interesting thing because Atari 2600 was a legendary system, and as you go through, they tried different permutations of it. They had stuff on the computers. In fact, a friend of mine growing up had the thing where you plug in the keyboard and you can play Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and stuff on your TV, the old text adventure. But here, let's look at some of these stuff and try a few games from each system, and you'll see what I mean. And there's configuration stuff. I mean, again, I could see this in museums. I could see this in schools. But first and foremost, to me, if you like game history, I think this is a really cool collection. The way they did this, I don't think we'll get a love letter quite like this again. So if you look at arcade, this does not have the arcade games on here, as we're saying. These are the home console versions. So we can sort by platform, title, recently played, year, The year it came out, I think, is pretty good too, because you can kind of see the evolvement of these things. Of the game library. I made a mistake. I said some of them are not arcade, but you can. But I mean, so let's look here, like Tempest. Tempest, I love this game. So we'll look at like the arcade one and compare it to the console one. I mean, this is a cool thing you can do with this collection. I want to make sure the controls are right. So hold on. Okay, right. So this is, when you play this in an arcade, you're just going around this, whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, yeah, I'm not doing very good. But you can see here, if we go back to the menu, we can see things like the advertisement, right? The original flyer for the game, that scary alien. There is a new dimension beyond the boundaries of imagination. Controls, you know, by default, I'm using an Xbox controller wirelessly with my computer. But it's just like 1 or 2 buttons for a lot of these games, kind of simple. You can insert coins. The keyboard controls or mouse controls well supported. I think a controller ideally is the way to do this game. And there's really cool mods like Mike Mika from Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse is who put together this game with Atari. Has some cool like controller mods he's been doing for paddle games like Pawn and stuff on here, which is worth checking out on Twitter. Screen mode original, full means it takes up, this is the original resolution as it was on the arcade screens or at home, right? Full means it fills up the whole usually 4:3 ratio. Wide, it's distorted. I really don't like that mode. I prefer it to keep it as original. Glow, what does that mean? So on some of these things, it has the vector graphics, and that's not quite the right word, vector, but you see what I mean, right? It can be really bright, like it's going to burn your retinas off. That's what it's like in the arcades. And so if we go here, oops, I don't want to play this one, right? You just go to quit, and you just go back to the menu. So let's go back from the beginning, maybe play some of the very first things. It goes back to 1972, right? 50 years, 2022 as of this video. So let's keep on going. Let's do Pawn. Very first game. Not the first game ever made, but one of the first. Space War is usually considered the first, like game period. But Pawn is a really early one, and reportedly they installed this in a bar and to test it out, see what people would think. And they thought it was broken, and it was just full of so many quarters from so many people playing it. So typically like L button. Let's see, I want to make sure the controls are good on here. So, I mean, if we look at the advertisement, right? A new product, a new concept, a new company. How the hell do you sell an arcade thing where nobody knows what that is? 2-player skill game, Ziggsy engineered, all solid-state TV and components. Right, is a whole TV. I mean, these were heavy systems, too. You can see 212 pounds, it even says in the specs. I mean, that they even had all these old advertisement stuff. To me, is really cool. And up, down, start, and okay, right. So let's play. Whoop. And, I'm not controlling player 2. This is literally a 2-player game, right? This isn't much fun. I can really play by myself. Whoop. You can put some English in the ball, right? Move as you're going. Come on, let's go. And again, with the sound effects and stuff, this is, I mean, where it all started. It's really hard to believe. You look at things like The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon, Forbidden West, all these things. So now you see it's getting a bit goofy, but you get the idea. So if we start at the beginning with Pawn, why don't we do one from each year? I think that'd be fun. 1972, Pawn. 76, Breakout. This is, I mean, yeah, it is 2-player, but it was created by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the fellows that formed Apple. And this is a really, I always like this one more than Pawn, but I've been more of a single-player guy typically. And so you can insert the coins. You can see the original arcade kind of creepy artwork there with the man. I guess he's trying to break out of prison. That's the metaphor they're going for here with the controls. The controls in these games are fairly consistent, but they're not always the most obvious. It just depends. So we're going to start. Okay, right? And I can move left to right. And let's serve. So instead of Pawn, where you're playing against someone, you're trying to play against the wall and you're trying to remove the whole wall. And I'm not doing very good, am I? Okay. I never said I was a master at these things. Come on. Right. So, I mean, you get the idea. So again, this is a kind of gameplay where it is, you're hitting balls against walls and knocking things down. But let's keep on going into the breach. What's more? Filter, right? You can do, oh, it's like a TV. Oh, it's not. Let's do one from each year. 1977 has, some more stuff. You can see it's the home console of Atari. Again, I'm a sucker for these paintings. There's a great art book of these that came out not that long ago. And the fellow that did a lot of these paintings here did the painting for a cool indie film called Computer Chess from about a decade ago. Well worth seeking out. About people at a chess competition in the early 80s, but the poster has that same style. Confidential, it looks like a dossier. Combat, right? These are all launch games for the Atari 2600 in 1977, but some of these are arcade games, as we can see, like Sprint 8, Surround. Okay, Surround. Yeah, this is like Snake. But look at that detailed artwork. Let's do this one. This is like the game that was on every old school cell phone. So in game variation, this is worth pointing out, right? So a lot of these, it would say 14 video games, which is misleading, but you can see here the different variants. Oh, it has video graffiti. Ooh, video graffiti with diagonals, right? It has different kind of accoutrements, different colors. Oh, this has more speed. This might be hard mode. They consider that all a separate game. We're going to play this variation, and sure, we'll do easy difficulty because of why not. Whoops. Okay, so I just died here. But I am the snake on the right, and I'm trying not to die. And this is all it is. I think that's what's really amusing and funny about these games. It can't even really do a complete straight line. Is the graphic choice they're doing. And I would play a version of this on my old Nokia flip phone when I went to college at Savannah College Art and Design studying game design. And see, that one I won because I beat the other person. So you're playing against the computer, or you can play against a friend and see who can last for longest. And on either side, you see some of that glorious artwork. Let's see. Oh, nope. But I can beat the computer. Is he gonna knock into me? I'm gonna try to trap him in here, see? Screw him over. There you go. Alright, so you can also see the manual. I mean, these are all really good historical artifacts, but also if you know how to play, it did, man, that brings me back. The old joystick with just the one button and the stick. I mean, think of the word joystick. That's a weird word, right? It's a stick that brings you joy. But you can look and zoom into different stuff if you want. And I mean, look at these paintings. Like, you can see the individual brushstrokes here. Just really, really cool. So let's go back. By default, it does have the TV filter with the lines. And so if I turn that off, you can see it looks, better. But the filter, I think, is tasteful and well done. And so let's keep on playing. Surround. What a terrible name for a game. Okay, 1978. We have more stuff like Confidential, Fire Truck. That sounds that looks complicated. Outlaw, like a cowboy kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these games I never really played, but we'll do one for each year, like I was saying. Let's do Fire Truck. Why not? Featuring a cabinet with 2 steering wheels, Fire Truck was the first co-op arcade game. One driver, oh, interesting. One steered the cab, the other piloted the trailer, meaning the back of the truck. The creator, Wendy Allen, says the horn button serves no gameplay purpose. It was just put in there for fun. So let's see if I can even play this at all. So it does, you can see it has the controller things mapped on here, and it doesn't always have it has it with the interface for the arcade game, but I kind of wish it had that for the other games. So we're going to go start. And 2-player start, I'm not going to... Right, so let's go. I need to look up the controls on this one. Let's see. Up, down, left, right. Accelerate. Okay. This one has a lot of controls. So I'm not controlling the rear of the fire truck, but you can hear it has the little sound here. And crunch. That's kind of fun. But you can see these graphics are really, for an arcade game or not at the time, right? This is really what the kids would call hot shit. As we can see, this kind of detail. It looks like a town, albeit like a map, right? Kind of overhead bird's eye view thing. And you can do the horn. Whoops. And I'm crunching it all over the place. I'm not very good at fireplace. Not fireplace. That'd be a terrible game, fireplace. But like, let's look at the flyer. How do you sell this? I mean, you have a combination of photographs. Sometimes you have cheesy models and stuff. You have the fire in the back. Fire truck. Built-in self-test system. Realistic siren. And initially, right, to change difficulty and stuff, you have to flip the dip switches and things, or from an admin menu, and you can just do this from the menu easily here while you're playing the game. So I mean, a lot of very obscure titles on here too. It's not just Pawn, which you played earlier. So that's 78. Let's do something from 79. Asteroids. That's a real classic one. Canyon Bomber, Lunar Lander, Touch Me. Really? It's called Touch Me? Okay. A handheld game. I didn't expect to see that in here. This looks a bit like Simon, and that's what it says. It says this was a knockoff of Simon. How cool. I never would have thought they would do a handheld game. And the skill, fine. Okay. Right? So you imagine the sound. Touch Me. What a terrible title. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 2, 3. If you get good, you can play this with your eyes closed and just do it by the sound. 1, 2, 3. Da, da. Two, three, da, da, da. I'm gonna die pretty soon. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on moving. I'll get sucked into this one. Damn you, Touch Me. Nah, okay, I messed it up, and you hear that meh. So, but yeah, that as a handheld game is pretty novel. I wouldn't expect that. And the manual for this has to be super simple, right? Of course. You can change the skill level. The eliminator jack, that sounds especially, in an eliminator jack in a Touch Me game, that sounds a bit dodgy. Right. So that even a handheld game, I mean, it shows kind of the creativity they're doing with what you see. Adventure. I was talking to an indie game chick about this online, and this game like scared me as a kid. I mean, this is kind of one of the first like computer role-playing games as far as I'm concerned. Not that you gain experience points and things, but you're going through a dungeon, you're trying to fight or avoid dragons, you're collecting keys, opening doors. It's sort of like a visual version of Zork on some level, right? And here we go, right? I'm the little dot. It's as simple as it gets. Right? I bump into the key. Up, I get to open the castle. Woo! And that is something else here. Does it let me go to another room? This is as simple as it gets. Right, because you get to go to... Okay, there's like 3 castles or something. There's a damn dragon. Ah! No! Looks more like a duck. This is a yellow one, so I should use it in the shit. And the dragon has killed me, I think. This yellow thing is a yellow thing for the... Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Yeah, he ate me. I'm in his tummy. And it's the end of the game, right? But yeah, I mean, this is the thing of like exploration. You see the little kind of troll like dwarves and things, and the labyrinth, and the dragon smiling with the key with the kind of goofy artwork. All good stuff. Said one from every year. We got a lot of 50 years to go. Let's keep on going. Asteroid, Centipede, Missile Command, Tempest. We showed a little bit earlier. Warlords is a pretty complicated sort of game. Let's do Centipede. Why not? Cavern of Mars. That sounds exciting. Let's do that one. On the Atari home computer, Atari 800. This and a lot of these, yeah, were all designed by one person, more or less. Maybe someone else would do the music sometimes, but this was done by a senior in high school. that was done with the homebrew Atari program exchange that it got an official release. So yeah, I always like stuff like this. You can pick the difficulty. What is the controls first off? Okay, and fire, of course. So this one's not... I mean, to be fair, the controls in these is not the most complicated. Oh, okay, neat. Huh, so you're scrolling, like, down. That's different. But yeah, I mean, these graphics are perfectly fine for the time. It looks like a spaceship. The thing says fuel. I'm not quite sure if I'm shooting things or... Oh, nope. Just not trying to crash into things, I guess. Whoops. But it's kind of a... Not quite an endless runner. You have the limit of fuel. I don't know how to collect things. I didn't look at the manual. And I mean, you had to read the manual, really, to figure out how to play these things. But just going into this blind... As a homebrew game, I mean, this does look like what would have been a professional product at the time. That it says fuel in big letters that you can read. I mean, a lot of games didn't even do that. Up and there's terrible, terrible noises when you crash into things. And the instruction manual, that you're going from up to down instead of down to up is still pretty novel, I would argue. Each life has 99 fuels. You must invade caverns before reaching the headquarters. And there's rockets and all these things. Refueling. If you destroy Martian fuel tanks, you can get the dissipated fuel. Right, I mean, so this has some complicated game mechanics. I feel like I always have to say for the time, but I'll just stop saying that because it's obvious. This stuff's pretty old, right? 82, the year I was born. Ah, shocker. Let's keep on going. Gravitar, Haunted House is kind of a weird one. Millipede. Miner, 2049er. Yeah, I mean, a lot. I mean, 82, you had the sports, which was a big thing. Space Duel. 82, big year for the Atari 2600. Yar's Revenge is considered one of the big ones. Right, so you're shooting through this asteroid field against this big spaceship. That it could even... Whoop! Well, nuts, I just died. Has that kind of imposing... that low bass sound the Atari could do very good. And you're chipping away at the spaceship, right? You're trying to get to the core and kill the guy, I think, or kill all the pieces. It's been a long time since I've played Yar. But even that, you could do that kind of force field effect. Whoop! If I go into here, I die, I bet. Nope. That's surprising. Let's destroy all his pieces. It's just more risk, I guess. But that middle kind of trippy effect right here, that would have been a really cool graphic effect. Albeit a bit of a novelty. Come on, man. Okay, now it's blinking. I can attack it, right? Big boss energy. Yeah. Maybe I don't think I have to hit that laser thing. That looks... You can't fire your laser while in here. Oh, come on. He's blinking. Different colors. Must be something I'm missing. Nope. Okay, that did kill me. But, you know, that's an example of part of the gameplay of good old Yar. '83, Black Widow. Centipede on the Atari 2600. You know, they're bringing a lot of the arcade favorites was a big thing at the deal. Major Havoc. Again, we're seeing some repeats here of stuff ported to different systems, right? One was the arcade. I mean, so you could really compare different versions, see how ports are different. Bounty Bob Strikes Back, a sequel to Miner 2049er. I mean, so why don't we do that, like a game and its sequel? The Sword Quest stuff is kind of convoluted series of games that had a tie-in comic book where you could win like real treasures if you beat the game, a real jeweled crown worth $25,000 USD. So yeah, let's do like Miner 2049er and compare it to the sequel. Early example of a platform game with the creator credited on the title. That's pretty unusual. So I'm a miner guy, right? What can I do? I can jump, because it's just one button on the 2600. Oh, I can climb, you know, kind of Donkey Kong, proto-Donkey Kong action here. Nope. You can just jump up and down, I see. You can't, like, jump across. The things we take for granted. As I'm filling in these lines, it's probably some objective, right? Whoops. Nope. I could jump over something. It's just not that easy to do. Interesting. I see. That's like a slide. Woo! Okay, right. So we're filling in these gaps. I guess he's doing his job as a miner. Those look like little monsters or creatures, or maybe it is donkeys. That's quite terrifying. I do not like that artwork of him with his jagged teeth and his eyes and his nose looking like on the side there. And we're filling in the gaps and climbing the stairs. No. That you could even jump over things was like a pretty advanced mechanic back in the day. Like this game, I never knew anyone that had a copy of this game. Pitfall is like the real famous one. Am I gonna die from falling so much? Nope. So, I mean, this is like the Miner 2049er. You get the idea. So if we go back, let's check out the sequel. With that horrifying title, right? From 84 next year. We got a lot of years to go, kids. Cloak and Dagger, this was a tie into the film. Bounty Bob Strikes Back, you know, the title takeoff of Empire Strikes Back. You get a real title screen, as it's kind of like spelling the words, I guess. Player 1, yes, that's me. Bob's Morning Calisthenics. Okay, so it has a title. This looks more like a guy, less like a blob. Woo whoop. You know, these guys look different. He looks more human. Morning Calisthenics, it says. Do I gotta jump and... Gotta go from 1 to 2, even more of an example of what the objective is. Why is it not letting me climb up that ladder? Man, I mean, so these instructions were so text-heavy, that's worth mentioning. What am I missing with the controls? Yeah, it's just jump. Utility hoist. And you can see anyhow how this is different from that first one. Well, that's a creepy effect as you die. So let's go, keep on going. We've barely gone through a decade, and it's, I mean, yeah, a lot of game for value, that's for sure. 84, we've already done. iRobot, title inspired by the Isaac Asimov thing. 85, you know, again, this is like the Atari 5200 Bounty Bob Strikes Back port. Atari 7800, this is something that tried to do better graphics, right? So let's look at like the asteroids on this one. Refined graphics, improved resolution. I mean, it's weird, right? You didn't have high definition televisions back then, but like the way the graphics were displayed, the number of colors that were displayed, the sharpness, it could still do tricks within the cartridge and things to look better. So that's fancy stuff right here. Glowing colors in the background. It's in color. The original card game was not in color. I need to know the controls here because you can... A and X. Okay, great. Hyperspace. Random spot in the map, so it's a risk. You could die. Yeah, you have your thrusters. I mean, yeah, these graphics are... I never had a 2600, or excuse me, what, 7800, whatever this is. But it looks more comparable to like a Commodore 64 or probably more like a Nintendo with all the different colors it can display. Oh, we're in a jam. Do the hyperspace. And so, like you can see right there, sometimes you do the hyperspace into an asteroid. So it's a risk-reward mechanic. Kind of the boop, 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 boop. Woo! Let's go. Uh-oh. Let's keep on going. What do we got here? Keep on going. Da-da-da-da. Game over. But you can see, you know, this looked significantly more than like the, if we go back to the first version, it's that black and white thing. Boxing, always like a good boxing game. Dark Chambers, right? So it skips from 87 to 89, but Atari 2600 grade 89. That's pretty damn late, to be honest. Atari XE. I mean, all kinds of systems going on. Oh, that's for the Atari 800. By Nolan Bushnell. I mean, there you're getting, proper credit of the designer. You still don't really get that on games anymore. But let's look at like boxing from 87. The final real sports game. And it was, the 7800 was backwards compatible with the Atari 2600. Right, and depending on how you do the joystick, I'm the guy with the peach-colored skin. You could block. You could hear that kind of noise in the background is supposed to be the audience cheering. So that's some kind of dynamic animation there. Come on. You can see there's an energy meter, more complex mechanics than something like Pong. Oh, come on. Only a side-to-side view, it's not the more exciting behind-the-person view like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's fun to see him distort as you punch him. Body blow, body blow. Take a rest. Let's keep on moving. If you look at the manual, even that, it doesn't have the classic kind of painting for the manual. Even the manual, the cover illustration looks a little cheap. 89, 90. So we can see here, as things evolve. Ooh, Ninja Golf. Yeah, let's do that one. I said I'd do one from each thing. What Secret Quest? This looks like a variation of Adventure. Oh, so Nolan Bushnell received credit on the box, but it was programmed by Steve DeFranco. So again, this is kind of like a thing with movies where they do like Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, but he wasn't the director. Henry Selick was. What are my controls? A, attack. Start, okay. Oh, I see. It wants me to put in my name or some nonsense. Come on. Okay. So I'm a guy, I'm wandering through stuff. Oh, got a laser, I guess. Uh-oh, there's a monster. Got like a lightsaber thing, right? And I got some energy, and we got oxygen. Okay, so this is some good stuff. You like going through different rooms and so forth. This is kind of like an exploration maze game. Reminds me a little bit of Berserk, actually. What am I fighting, like honeycombs? I like the effect when they get hit. Okay, let's keep on going. $90, right? So, Atari 7800, you have Ninja Golf, which, one of the best cover arts of all time as far as I'm concerned. And this game is kind of infamous because its concept. So the controls, just to be clear, A and X, okay. So first we're gonna, you can see here with the keypad at the bottom, it's aiming where my golf ball is going. So I'll do that. And because you're a ninja, you can fight people in between the golf. What is that? Is like a gopher or something between the holes. Oh, now you get to pick up. I see, and where I hit it, it depends on how far it goes. Got it. This combination, I mean, you could do a remake of this, I think, and it'd be pretty solid. The combination of action and sports, remember the old Mutant Football on the Sega Genesis. Yeah, this is quite something. Fun stuff. Okay. So keep going. Scrapyard Dog, turbo stuff. I mean, so much. We've barely even scratched the surface here. Atari Lynx. Let's do one of those. So Lynx was their portable system. Fairly expensive. You know, better color graphics, right? Better graphics than the Game Boy, but it just didn't catch on for whatever reason. So we'll do good old Turbo Sub. Submarine shooter with aliens. Why not? Sure. Man, what a chunky looking thing. Right? Oh, kind of like a afterburner thing. Oh, come on. Uh-oh. It's a pretty violent effect. So I can't imagine how many AA batteries these games ate up. But it's cool that the things explode and you can dodge the flames. That's kind of different. And you can go underwater. Oh, and that's cute. You get the little windshield wiper animation as you go out from under the sea. All right. We look at the manuals. You can see these kind of this airbrushed artwork, but I think it lacks the appeal of the kind of painted, kind of oil painting, watercolor, acrylic looking stuff we had on the old Atari games. Jaguar, yeah. I mean, so this was Atari 64-bit, which I think it technically was not 64-bit, but that's how they marketed it. This is a very expensive console. And so we're going to try, this looks like what, like furry or something? I don't know what the hell this game is. Let's do like Dino, Evolution Dino Dudes. That's quite the 90s title. A lot of stuff was about cavemen. No, I don't know why. Fine. Like, this is not great looking graphics. This is better than Nintendo, but not, this looks like Sega Genesis. Oh, I see. This looks like a Lemmings kind of game. Discover the Spear. I mean, this seems like a ripoff of the game called Humans, if I'm being completely honest. So this is kind of... Yeah, so this music is crisper than you would hear like on a Genesis or even perhaps a Super Nintendo. Not as good as like a CD or something, but still pretty... I mean, so the music's a bit more advanced. But yeah, these graphics are not good. So what do I do here, right? I have this guy, he holds up here, and I have the other people, what am I doing? What's the controls here? I see, okay. So like we're trying to get the spear, so we're switching between these little guys, and they're gonna hold their arms up and form a kind of bridge for, this guy up top to walk across and get the spear. And so, I mean, this isn't exactly the solution to the puzzle, but okay, I guess that's not it at all. But anyhow, oh, I see, you can, neat. Okay, so this guy climbs. So if we go back to this guy, I can climb on top. Can I walk over? No. But we go back to this dude. With his kind of, I mean, that's kind of a fun animation of him boop-oo-doo with his belly wiggling around. And oh, they're shaking. Oh, they're straining from the weight. But they're not. I mean, this is a good example, right? It shows you how picky these games were. You have to be like pixel perfect right next to it. And then we got Caveman, goes on top. Yeah. And we beat the level. Oh, there was a voice clip. That was something unusual at the time. So you get the idea there. As the Jaguar was struggling to catch on with the high price point, I think it had a price drop to like $150 or something. Well, here, why not? I mean, they have a kart racing thing in '95, but let's look at Super Asteroids since we looked at the asteroids on the on that other Atari system earlier. Oh, this is on the Lynx, excuse me. Well, we can still compare it. Reset the game. We'll do asteroids. Whatever, I didn't want to do this one anyway. Thought it was Jaguar. So here, so this is like a pinball game. 2 pinball tables and one thing they sell for $50. I mean, there's a lot of games like this. Epic Mega Games famously had a pretty good one. Windows 95 had a built-in one where it's like a spaceman, Buzz Lightyear looking kind of science fiction thing. You can do Ruiner or Tower. I like fantasy stuff. Let's do Tower. Get ready. Oh, pretty scary. Welcome to hell. Please hold. Cute. Eyeballs. Woo. Okay. What's the button here to do the flippers? Oh, the directional keys? That's weird. So it's doing scaling graphics. I mean, that's sort of advanced. And I'm not getting... I mean, you get the idea. I'm not doing good with these controls here. That's what happens when you're playing a gazillion games one after another. But I mean, you can see there's plenty of games on this compilation. This is something, right? So this is like the last game released for the system, I believe. A 3D graphics by one of the guys that did worked on Virtua Fighter. I'm not good at French, but Francois Bertrand. Fight for life. That's not even a grammatically correct sentence. They were hoping this would be their Mortal Kombat, I assume. Rolling camera. Tournament mode, why not? Let's go. Okay. Come on. I see, you have to go down to begin game. It's a bit weird. Player 1, ooh, Kara, Mr. G, Muhali. I mean, so different people are different races. That's cool. I like Pog. Pog, remember those little kind of cardboard things in the 90s? I saw them in magazines all the time, but I knew nobody that would play this. You know what? It's trying to have me play against someone else. So let's reset and just do a single beginner mode or whatever it's doing. I was trying to do tournament mode, and it still was beginner mode, I guess. Let me start fighting until the... Press B to select a character. Not letting me select a character. Okay, I'm missing something here. I think it's some of these have to be 2-player only or something, but it says 1 or 2-player. How strange. Oh well. And then we can see Yoomp. You know, so you do see an example of like homebrew stuff and people doing games for the older system. So it goes from 96 all the way to 2007. And 3-dimensional jumping game for the Atari 800. Yoomp is loading. And a loading screen on an Atari 800 game. That's you don't see that every day. Cool kind of science fiction stuff. Yeah, let's go in. Lives left. Huh. Okay, so it's trying to do like 3D sort of stuff. Oh, yeah, this is quite advanced, really. Also has the name Yoomp. Whoop, I just wasted one of my jumps. And I died. But still, I mean, graphically, that's pretty cool for an Atari 2600, or 800, excuse me. And for the 2022, what do they do to spiff this up, right? So they have reimagined versions of some of these classic games we saw earlier. Some are unreleased prototypes that never came out. So if, for instance, this reimagined, there's Not an asteroid, surprisingly, but if we do like Sword Quest Air World, which was a game that never is the fourth game that never officially came out, right? They kind of did their own version of it. And so you could play as a, looks like a minute. Oh, whoop. You don't want to hit the skies. I'm not doing very good, but it looks like a guy in a unicorn, Pegasus kind of thing. Is it see how high you can get above the clouds? If we do something else, when I say reimagined, some of these are like okay, Neo Breakout, right? This is an example. And so these graphics are more not in color like the arcade, but presumably it's going to do some cool stuff with the graphics. But that you get a new Breakout game done just for this collection is pretty neat. And they didn't have to do that at all. They didn't have to do any of the new interviews, the old interviews, the magazine stuff. There's so much on here, as you can see. You know, we've gone for what 45 minutes so far, that you can't really imagine what's happening. Let's beat this first level and see what makes it Neo Breakout. Come on, man. Let's go. Yeah, we can get a few more blocks. Let's go. Go for it. Oh, man. Let's keep on going. Keep on playing this. Not past level 1. Oh, that's fancy, these 3D graphics. After super basic level. I break the time barrier. What does that mean? Neat. Okay, so now it's like in... So now it looks more kind of... Damn it. Well, you get the ideas here, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So why don't we look more at the detail of stuff like this the whole timeline feature. Have you played Atari today, right? So if we go through like 90s and beyond, more recent, I was looking at this a bit this morning before doing the video. So we can see here, you know, you have these essays, kind of giving historical context. It's saying, pair of deadly felines. Oh, I didn't think about that, right? The Lynx and the Jaguar. Meanwhile, the 2600 keeps going and going. So 89, you know, you can go down and get more notes, get quotes and stuff. So this is talking about the PC market was evolving and Atari felt it couldn't compete with their Atari 800 and so forth. And they said, let's do one more game system, is what Bill Raybach, the former Atari vice president, said. This was to their detriment. I mean, the Lynx, I think, was not a bad idea. It was a color LCD display. LCD was an expensive tech at the time. Now you see it like everywhere, but and it retailed for $179.99. Which was a lot more. I think the Game Boy might have just been $100 or something like that, and came with Tetris, but was only in black and white with that kind of green patina to the screen. And we could see notable quotables again: Cliffy B, Cliff Blazinski. At the time, Game Boy was all the rage, but Lynx was bigger, fatter, and had better graphics. Still a cool console. So here we can look at like the schematics to the system. Right, the headphone jack, fire buttons, kind of a see-through. People in hardware is cool. And I mean, this is like a big poster announcing the game, introducing Lynx. Okay, I mean, so you had a lot of this of competitors talking shit about each other. Game's over, Game Boy. Sorry, but Lynx is the first full-color portable system, so the Lynx was out before the Game Gear. You can daisy chain up to 4 of them together, that's right. I never knew anyone that had a Lynx. That being said, it didn't mean it didn't have good games. And you might wonder, oh, why aren't all the games on here? And it's because games made by different people. And if it's based on movies or TV shows, you have to do licensing stuff. It's really tough to get the rights for that, for compilations to make it an official, legit thing. So that's why a lot of these or everything we see here pretty much is like a first party game from Atari proper. But still, you get quite a lot, dozens of games in this compilations. You get these interactive timelines, sort of interactive history lessons with videos, with rare artwork, with there's so much stuff in here. You can spend plenty of hours. I've never seen a compilation this complete or this so many interesting things since the Activision anthology on the PS2 20 years ago. I mean, this is really something quite special Digital Eclipse has made here with the Atari 50, the anniversary collection. So we can see, they're still coming out with some 2600 stuff in the 90s. I'm not sure why they even bothered. Maybe they just had to get the cartridges out of the warehouse. Scrapyard Dog. And so, we can play it just by pushing the Y button, or you can zoom on the artwork. And this is considered to be better on the Lynx. So why not? Why don't we play it, right? So we're learning about game history as we're playing through it. Oh, how cute. A scrapyard dog. I don't really care. The dog is licking his face. Did the dog just get shot? Just get kidnapped by a wolf or another dog or something? That's not very nice. We can see here too, notice the little like blocky things. You can change that with the filter to make it, not to make it look not quite like it did originally. So that's quite, so if we turn it off, let's do that. Mr. Big stole the doggy. Oh no, I got 4 lives, got a big nose, big eyeball. Great. And look at the buttons, that's interesting. So there's option 1, option 2. The dog is, a bird is shitting on me. I think I have unlimited ammo of these. I don't know if it's a baseball or what it is. In a junkyard. I mean, this is fine. It's not no trespassing and they misspell it because it's a kid doing it. Like this looks like a Nintendo game to me. Then the music is more channels going on than Nintendo music. Most Nintendo music, excuse me. But indeed, yeah, with this theme, sure. I mean, this is very 90s with the theme of a boy has to rescue his dog. I don't know why these dogs have guns. It reminds me of All Dogs Go to Heaven, that Don Bluth cartoon. Scrapyard Dog. Let's keep on going. So now we can see sales were not what they hoped, so they relaunched it at the $99.99 price point. No pack-in game, no AC adapter, only on batteries. That stinks. No cable, and it has a smaller, sleeker unit. So if you still got the full price bundle, you got a game for free. Yeah. So these kind of things were very, very common back in the day, right? So you could get Chips Challenge, which is a very old PC game. Gates' Zendicom, Blue Lightning, right? So these are not like AAA titles you can get for free. However, it's something California Games, real classic, and this is the cheaper model, redesign, looks a bit more ergonomic based on the picture. So now they dropped it again. I mean, this shows that it's just after for 2 years they're just really trying to do pull something. And this, yeah, goes to show you which is better. This is worth examining. So it makes Game Boy look like Baby Boy. Okay, that's a bit harsh. But, I mean, you can see here like a widescreen ratio, not to the Game Boy. And it's saying, what does Lynx have that Game Gear and Game Boy doesn't? 16-bit graphics engines, better graphics, sure. Hardware scaling, can zoom in and out. Backlight on and off. That's actually a good feature. You can save battery that way. Rubberized hand grips, that's a bit of a... I mean, sure, but I don't think the general public cares about rubber hand grips, especially not in 1991 or whatever this is. Recessed screen. I mean, so some of these things are a bit of a stretch, but look at all the buttons it's talking about. It can display up to 400 brilliant graphics. It backlit, so you could easily see it. Ugh. In the extreme, when you're out in the sun, you can see it better with the backlit stuff. Push your mind to the edge with the Lynx, man. Yeah, I mean, that's... So the Jaguar, infamous 93. They did test markets of it in New York and San Francisco. Pretty common to do it in a big city just to see how it does. The first 64-bit system, launching price whopping $249.99, $249.99 US dollars. Used cartridges instead of CD-ROM. Nintendo 64 would do the same thing, really. The controller, I think, is one of the more hideous things I've ever seen. It looks a bit like an Intellivision with all those buttons at the bottom. Has 3 buttons, kind of like the Sega A, B, and C. A big fat cable, of course, because nothing was really wireless back then, or if it was wireless, it would eat up so many batteries. And 17 button inputs, almost more like a computer keyboard, right? You notice, too, as we look at each picture, it goes boom, and it refills the different... you can go to and see on the main menu the percentage screen here of what we're doing. Tom and Jerry was the nickname for the two things in there. So it's advertised as 64-bit, but it's actually two 32-bit processors. Is that lying? Well, sort of. I mean, 32 times 2 is 64, but a 64-bit processor can do a lot more than a 32-bit processor. It's just... working in tandem, there's stuff they could do. Man, I mean, this is 90s as hell. Look at this. So, I mean, he has pictures of women in bikinis in the background, pretty standard kind of stuff. He has a tool set with gizmo things, his toolbox, neon hats with Atari branding. I wonder, based on that, the wood grain and stuff on that TV, is he using an RV input, I wonder? Does that even have composite inputs or component inputs, or whatever the Jaguar supported? Probably supported S-Video, I'd assume. Cybermorph packed in, right? So why don't we play this? The pack-in stuff is on some level you could do overlays. I mean, the Intellivision did this as well, right? So you could see what button did what. So if we look at this pack-in thing, pack-ins are kind of a demo to show off your system. I mean, it's a real game, right? 3D letters, shading. Oh man. Autobahn, select the planet. Ennis, really? Okay. And it says crucial weaponry pods that you can rescue. Fine. So this 3D kind of... Oh, so graphics there. I see. So I can, if I hold this, I can kind of do some of the other things. Oh, so it is interesting. So I can rotate it on a cartridge. That's actually pretty impressive. But how do I accelerate the damn ship? Excuse me. Oh, okay. So I do... So I can explore this 3D planet environment on a cartridge. That's pretty impressive. You have some Gurad shading on the polygons. No music, notably. Probably to save on the processing.
In trouble.
What's with that voice on the kind of avatar that speaks to me? I just crashed into a building. Fantastic. Let's keep on looking. So you can keep on digging through this stuff, as I mentioned, for quite some time. I want to see what the hell this is. Horizontally 2D shooter with an anthropomorphic leopard. Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy. Anytime you saw a game that did blah, blah, blah in the so-and-so, right, it means they were trying to start like a series, like Indiana Jones or something. That they had the audacity to say, this will be the first of many Trevor McFur games. Again, you're selecting planets, kind of like the other one. Equilibrimite, whatever. Fine. So this looks like a low-rent wing commander with just a lion head on top of, you know, what could have been a photo of Colin Powell or something. Corporal McFur, this is General Patent. I mean, there's no even voice acting even, but it's a cartridge, so you can't really do that formatting. We just lost an armada an hour ago. Recon reports show something odd. It has entered our sector. Heads up, McFur. Right. I mean, so this is just a real kind of, you know, damn it, like a Gradius sort of thing with polygon graphics, which is fine. But looking at the cover with, oh, I want to see what Colin McFur is doing. That you're a leopard really doesn't. I mean, it's a spaceship, really, is what you're seeing here. And I'm not doing very well. Extra man. Extra leopard, I guess. Oh, see, I got an upgrade to the laser. I mean, these games are a dime a dozen. That you would have this as like your, what, on a system that costs $250 that you're charging, what, probably like, what was that, like $49.99, $59.99 per game, most likely. Instruction manuals, black and white to save money. Yeah. So, and still, you look at the credits, it's not that many. What, some of the credits are just credited as like purple. That's a bit odd. Oh, by the last names, I see. So, not huge teams that worked on this specific one. Don't have Jaguar games on here at all. Where Atari Lynx things is pretty interesting. I would have assumed, just Atari 2600. So, I mean, it really shows they're going the extra mile. Dino Dudes we played. More marketing materials for individual games would have been nice if I'm being a bit quibbly. This is a good example of like the marketing with the Atari Jaguar. 24 exploding bits of raw power, 16.7 million brain-burning colors, and 3D graphics reeling up to make you blow chunks. You've been warned. Mutant aliens, the name is Fur, Trevor McFur. Fire good, losing bad. The galactic war has begun. Do you know where your pods are? Right, yeah, so it's trying to sex up the system, make it. So if we go back to the beginning, we can see, I explored interacted with, right, 29% of all the modules. So we barely scratched the surface. We spent a little bit over an hour on this. I do want to go and see some of the stuff, like with Birth of the Console, just to show you, kind of on the flip side, the marketing. Arcade comes home. Don't watch TV tonight. Play it. I mean, you had to even explain what a console is to people. Atari 2600, I would say, was the first really super successful home video system that had more than just pawn variants. So you're looking at the joystick, the paddle, yes, right? This thing was for pawn and all this stuff. So we look at these games. Cliff Spawn did the cover art for this. We can try Outlaw, use a gun controller, interesting, to aim at bandits. Created by David Crane, who later did Pitfall. Pitfall is not on here because it's a Activision game, which is too bad. Activision did a lot of the best ones, but we have a lot of good titles on here as well. Oh, you can rotate it? That's pretty cool. So let's play it. That's right, you could do... I mean, so icy. You're just like shooting, right? And there's the big cactus in the middle. Pew. And I'm playing against... But if we do the variants here... we could see what makes some of these variants different in this menu. Like 2-player is what I was doing. I think this is only 2-player. Oh, excuse me. Some is 1-player. Cactus or blow away. I'm not sure what the difference is. Moving stagecoach. Why not? Blow away. Sure. Does that just mean the color scheme? Right. So I did hit it, so it requires a bit more skill. This is kind of as simple as it comes, but you can see why they needed that artwork to kind of sell these things and make it more exciting. And you can't shoot through the... Well, you can. Looks like you can do some battle damage on the wagons there. So as we keep on going through, you can see some of this marketing stuff. And this is a good note, I think, to end on. Kind of the opposite of what we saw with the Atari Jaguar. Don't watch tonight, TV tonight, play it. So this was a foreign concept for a lot of people. Where are the games you play in your TV set? We're the Atari video computer system. Remember Pong? Well, that was just the beginning. Atari is now a sophisticated, computerized, programmable unit that hooks up to your television in a matter of seconds. Atari features a greater selection, 20 different game program TM cartridges, over 1,300 game variations and options with many more to come. We're sports games, we're mind games, we educate, we entertain. We can be played by 1 player against the computer, 2 players, 3 or 4. We're the system that's especially designed to change colors to protect and safeguard your TV tube from any damage. We offer crisper colors when played, of course, on a color TV. We pride... That's funny you have to point that out, but a lot of people still had black and white TVs at the time. We pride ourselves in truer to life sound effects, and which you play through the TV's sound system. We're Atari. If someone in your game hasn't asked for us yet, get ready. They're going to. So that you can plug up to 4 controllers into the system is a pretty big deal. You have those switches for black and white or color, all kinds of stuff. More games, more fun than the competition. It was a Warner Communications company at the time. So we had some of these quotes. We were responsible for making $60 million at Atari, and we're getting paid only $20,000. That really says it all. David Crane, creator of Pitfall. So what negatives would I say about this compilation? I mean, part of it, and it's not the fault of Digital Eclipse or Atari, this is Atari games. There's not Activision. Activision was such a big part of Atari 2600, but that would have to be legally its own collection, most likely. That you don't have Pitfall and some other, hockey and some of these other ones on here, I think is a big downside. However, you do have so many games here, so many systems. You get the full scope of Atari's, not just console, arcade, handheld legacy. This is a history lesson in a game, but also a lot of games there. You could show, your cousins or whomever, your grandchild, your great grandchildren, what video games used to be like. That you even have candid photos. This is Howard Scott Warshaw with his shirt off playing frisbee. There's and with the new interviews with all these people, and Howard Scott Warshaw talking about it sucking as a game, but the gameplay was to make it look cool. Let's watch this. And these videos are all made pretty brief too, so that's nice. It sucked.
So I looked over this game. It was Star Castle. I played it a bunch. I thought about it on the VCS. I looked it over and I realized, holy crap, this is going to suck. This is going to absolutely suck. And I could not afford to have my first project suck.
So you could tell here they're filming this with really high definition cameras against green screen. Nice lighting.
Instead of doing this, I'd like to do this.
So he's supposed to port Star Castle, and he wants to make his own thing.
This is something that would work.
The same concept.
The other one won't work. And I just made this little presentation to him. And to his credit, he said, okay, you know what? Go for it. The first thing I put up on the screen was an animated character. Most people use a block because they want to start working out their game mechanics and stuff like that. I put up an animation. That was the first thing I put up on a screen. And people would go by and they go, wow, that looks cool.
That's worth noting here, right? Because that you have an animated graphic was a big deal at the time, and it wasn't a static thing you move up and down like in the cowboy game we just were looking at, the Western game, where it just was a guy with the gun going, right? This is showing a little flittering thing on the screen, and it caught people's attention.
What does it do? I'd be like, nothing. That's what it does.
You can show captions. That's nice.
I'm still working on it. Don't worry. And then it got to the point where it was time to actually play it and have some of this stuff. So I had achieved my goal of trying to make something interesting, and it sucked as a game. And I was exactly caught in the place I didn't want to be. So
we had a good, interesting game mechanic, but as a game, it wasn't fun to play. And yet they had really tight deadlines on these things. Notice the microphone they have on them is one of those neck lapel things, where as long as you're not fiddling with your shirt and it's not windy outside, you're inside, those were very good for picking up sound.
What I did was I started taking feedback, which was extremely painful to hear people telling me how much my games sucked. The only thing that really made it tolerable was that I wasn't so self-deluded at that point that I didn't realize it sucked also. Until I worked out making some of the changes and getting it through, I was in very bad shape. And I was feeling some very negative feedback from...
That's a good point. So when you, and I talk about this as someone who's done game design on both, some of the games aren't out yet, but games for different companies. I've done QA for games. I've done independent game design myself, where I do everything myself or work with a business partner. And what he's talking about here is when you're making a game, it can, especially early on and when you're doing game design, whether it's I happen to study game design at Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, graduate in 2005, is one of the first graduates out of their program, their undergrad program rather, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Ooh. So what he's talking about is you're working on a game and you're kind of in love with it and you're so close to it, you have tunnel vision. You can't tell. It takes a bit to kind of step outside yourself and go, is this fun? Because as far as you're concerned, you built every little block in there and you're like, oh, this thing is perfect and everyone's going to love it. And they would do this in class and it was a really useful exercise. But get someone else to play your game. If you're designing a game, I would advise you get someone else to play that game as soon as possible, because they're going to see things you'll never see. That's part of why QA is important, but it's also from a usability perspective, right? How is the average person going to use it? Because it's not how the game designer is going to play it, and it's not how the average. It's not how a QA person is going to play it either, right? The person that Joe and Jill are down on the street, go to the store and buy the game and come home and play it, they're going to have very different expectations than what you do of a designer that already knows how to do everything in the game and get all the secrets. So let's keep on listening to Howard Scott Warshaw talk. Anyway, Howard is a great guy. I've met him a few times. I've seen him talk live at Portland Retro Game Expo. Highly recommend you go see him.
Some other people, and I was feeling, I'm usually the person who's hardest on myself, and that was a tough time for me. And I had to get through that before I could hear what people were saying and start to work on it. And I had to release myself from, but I have to have this, but I have to have this. As a therapist, I always catch people when they say
He's now a therapist to primarily like tech executives, but also I think to regular people too. And I would love to see him do a book on that, actually. And he says he always catches people when they say, I have to. And I bet he's going to go, why do you have to? Is it a have? Is it a want?
have to. I always love people say, I have to, but I have to do this. And I always stop and I say, look, you don't have to. Obviously you don't have to because you're not doing it, right? You don't have to, but you could, but there's probably a reason you're not. And the reason I'm able to give that lesson to my clients now is because I had to get over that. I had this have to that was making things not work. And until I could let that go, I couldn't make the game succeed. And when I did, it forced me to think in new ways, to think outside the box.
So part of what he's talking about with have-to stuff in here is from gameplay perspectives. Especially if you're at the beginning of a game design process, you might say, oh, I want full motion video, I want 8K graphics, and with this and with this. At a certain point, you have to be sort of more of a realist and go, okay, what does this actually need? Think of like a pizza, right? If you get a pizza with 30 toppings, with like salami and marshmallow and anchovies or something, no one's gonna like it. You kind of having a more focused thing is usually better.
Go come up with some other left field solution, and when I made those changes, then suddenly yours was really good.
It's there in 3 minutes. I did talk over it, but yeah, an example of the kind of the videos you see here. So, I think this has been a pretty good review, if you will, of Atari 50, the Anniversary Collection. It is out on, I'm playing the Steam version, but it's also out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One Series X, all that stuff. A lot of good platforms out there. So, be sure to check it out. It has a lot of good stuff, and I can see it being used in not just universities, but museums. But also if you have any interest in game history at all, the older stuff, or even just want to see what was gaming like before I was born for maybe younger people, right? This is a good survey history package, if you will, love letter even, to this older time of gaming. I'm at Bradley-Tschirgi. Hope you liked what you saw. And if so, be sure to give me a subscribe and follow me on Twitter at MATWBT. Bye.